talking about ABC Learning, which was one of the biggest childcare providers in Australia, which was founded by Eddie Groves in Queensland in 1988. Growing fast, ABC were quick on the stock market in 2001 and continued to grow with many new centres providing care to many children. In 2006, its market capitalisation reached $2.5 billion, and in 2007 it reported after-tax profits of $143 million and revenues of approximately $1.7 billion. In 2008, ABC experienced a big decrease in its share price following the company's collapse into insolvency in 2008, owing creditors $1.6 million and forcing a fire sale of 1,200 child care centres caring for 120,000 children. Administrators concluded the group was insolvent by at least the first half of 2008 and recommended creditors vote for liquidation. In this video, we will discuss some ethical issues facing accounting professionals and auditors leading to the collapse of ABC Learning, including auditors' independence, internal controls, auditor technical skills, audit committees, and duty to report. Auditors' independence. Auditors are legally required to be independent from any entity that they audit to ensure that they act in the best interest of the public. If an external auditor is not completely independent, it could result in financial reports being unreliable and irrelevant, which will result in users being unable to rely on financial reports for decision making. The collapse of ABC Learning in 2007 has been investigated by ASIC, who reached the conclusion that during the audit of the 2007 financial report, Mr. Green's lack of independence and concern for the general public led to this collapse. According to ASIC's investigation, Mr. Green had failed to perform adequately and properly his duties as an auditor. Prior to Mr. Green's employment as the auditor for ABC, Russell Brown was employed as the primary auditor. Mr. Brown previously audited Mr. Groves' private company. Having a previous relationship with the auditor breached Mr. Brown's independence. This threat may have played a bigger part in the collapse of ABC than expected. However, due to the fact that Mr. Green was the sole scapegoat, it was quite hard to say how much of a role this threat played.
Hello, I'm Nat. Today we talk about the internal control relating to the ABC Learning. The overall objective of internal control is to safeguard the entity purpose, whether it be protecting their resources, provide reliable financial reporting, or improve the effectiveness of the procedure. To achieve this goal, an auditor would determine which control to investigate and create assurance of its level. For either external or internal auditor to limit the financial fraud, there are three levels of control: entity level, transaction levels, and documentation. It aims to evaluate risk assessment and minimize the influence for opportunity behavior. Entity level internal control grants an understanding to establish a level of professional skepticism and risk that may behind the audit process. The controls are internally generated and re-emphasized by management to deliver an optimal level of productivity. The control environment is one of the components of the level of entity level control. ABC has felt the element of communication and enforcement of ethical value. The financial information in 2007 annual report stating that profit were worth $37.1 million and operating cash flow was minus $19.8 million, lead to an unequal audit report. The transaction level control identify what financial processes may be affected the most. ABC Learning financial report did not take into control intangible assets and goodwill from June to December 2007. Non-current liabilities were inconsistent. The management should have provided internal control to add this issue with the assistance of the audit assistant. For instance, the non-current liability would benefit from the audit assessment of existing and completeness. This could reduce the overstatement and understatement, helpful for both external auditor and internal auditor. Hello, my name is Nga. I will talk about the auditor technical skill of IBC learning. The auditor must provide their technical skill to detect and prevent the existence of fraud in an entity. In doing so, sufficient audit evidence must be acquired to review their client and pay their financial credibility to be true and fair when delivered to the internal user. There are three types of sufficient appropriate evidence sufficiently related to the quantity of evidence, appropriateness related to the quality of evidence, and audit risk determine that evidence is required. This evidence is required to provide an independent auditor opinion in general purpose financial report. A type of evidence that auditor can use is through internal confirmation. The collapse of IBC learning was due to a qualified audit report by former auditor Peter Green. It Green provided supported audit evidence that fee from the regional management company are classified under revenue. This would allow IBC learning revenue income to be correct, but in fact Green procedure led to an overstatement. The possibilities of audit evidence use various features to determine the legitimacy of information. The auditor will observe, inquire, and recalculate the information. ABC Learning Independent Auditor Green should have relied on tests of detailed transaction for material misstatement and tests on detailed parent like bank confirmation letter for financial information. The consequence of not gathering appropriate evidence of ABC learning rely on green technical skill to detect fraud occurring and risk on insolvent have arrived.
Hi, my name is Christian. I'll be talking about audit committees and the duty to report. So the audit committee have strong communication skills to interact with the management and have knowledge of current regulations and understanding of the financial reports. Members should have standard industry experience and the ability to challenge auditors and the board of directors. They are charged with overseeing internal and external audit processes whilst evaluating if the information is obtained is true and fair. Furthermore, they should be independent from management and avoid conflicts of interest to provide information to external auditors so that they are able to form an honest opinion. The ABC Learning Audit Committee consists of four senior management members who were appointed by the board. In the 2007 and 2008 financial period, the committee held four meetings and reviewed specific skill half financial statements and other reports the company required. The role of the meeting is to provide an understanding about ABC Learning's financial framework and activities. Assessing the financial statements and discovering issues that may affect the entity is when ABC Learning's audit committee sought assurance from senior management in regarding particular issues that were discovered while assessing the financial statements. For instance, a refinancing of $1.1 billion from borrowing change into non-current liabilities should have been investigated. The duty to report is to underline the conflict of interest and disclosure information to determine if fraud is evident. This is due to corporate opportunity related to parties for financial benefit. The prevention of insolvent trading is an additional reason for the duty to report. After the release of 2008 financial results, it was noticeable that ABC Learning may become insolvent and unable to repay their debts. If shareholders were unaware, Groves should have reported that his brother-in-law, who was the owner of Queensland Maintenance Service, was Frank Zullo. This caused a concern of a familiarity threat, where Groves drew out funds from the UK-based account to complete a $22 million preferential payment. Shareholders may have found this a questionable payment, where ABC Learning had a massive amount of debt to pay off. Observation and inspection processes by Green should have recognized debatable financial dealings in the quality reports and unlike particular operations. ABC Learning is a government-subsidized business, yet fraud was evident in its breakdown. The inability of Simon Green, former auditor, failed to produce inquiries to management, provide analytical procedures, and observe and inspect ABC Learning. To assess the collapse, three phases should be considered: risk assessment, risk response, and reporting. Ultimately, all strategies should have been implemented better to assess these fraud threats.